Hello, Corbin. This is your next practice guide. I really liked in our lesson yesterday how you really had the fingerings down beautifully for the A minor pentatonic scale. You were able to go all the way up and down right there, and that was so very good. So then at the end of this lesson, I had you fill out the numbers to play the rest of it, the rest of the A minor pentatonic scale. And then we went through it in our lesson, so it looks like this. And it's on your sheet of paper, so you can look about where your fingers are supposed to go. So this week, what I'd like you to do is to be able to play all the way up, exactly like that, and then be able to play all the way down as well. And take it slowly. Don't worry about speeding through it. Just so your fingers feel at home on the fretboard. And remember that we're starting on the 5th fret. It's the 6th string, but it is the 5th fret. And it's also very important this week that you work on your picking technique, because we're going to start, because right now we're just doing downstrokes. Pretty soon I want to teach you how to do up and downstrokes so you can play quickly. Because right now, it sounds good and it's fun to play like this, but what happens when you need to play this fast? It'll be hard to do. So if in order to, you'll need to be able to have your picking technique down. So this week, just do downstrokes. Don't worry about doing upstrokes. All the way up and all the way down. And to review, when you're putting your pick in your hand, hold out your right hand, your thumb, like you're trying to get a hitchhike. Then take your other pick, take your pick in your left hand, and what you do is you just lay it down as such and put your thumb down. This way, the pointy part is sticking directly out. Then, all you do is you lift these 3 fingers so that it's just your index and your thumb that's holding the pick. So that's what you do this week. And your second objective for when you're doing the A minor pentatonic scale, once you feel like you have that down, I'm putting a second link in the email that has a backing track, so that you'll hear chords underneath. And that's time for you to practice just taking a solo. Well, while that backtrack is going, try playing through the scale as it comes. And if you start to feel brave, try skipping notes. Try going. And just see what it sounds like. Just mess around and improvise in that pool of sound. So that's objective number 1. Objective number 2 is getting the smoke on the water power chords down. So this week we made the discovery that the same way that when you were playing the one note, smoke on the water, those one notes you're doing are the root notes to the power chords. So, translates to. And this week, you got that down. You're able to basically figure that out on your own, where your finger's supposed to go. The one thing that still needs to be cleaned up is the ability to mute the strings that should not be played. And so to reiterate, what you do is, let's say we're playing the A power chord. So with your index finger on the 5th fret of the 6th string and your ring finger on the 7th fret of the 5th string. You know how we usually play it with your fingers arched like this? Keeping the tip of the index finger still contacting the fretboard where it is, just lean over the rest of your fingers to mute the rest of the strings. You're able to do this really successfully on the A power chord in our lesson yesterday. So, this week, out of tempo, just slowly move from one chord to the other, and don't move on to the next one until you like the one you just played. So for instance, if you played like this, you wouldn't like that chord didn't work, so you'd go back to it. Making sure the only 6 and 5 are ringing, and the rest are muted. So that's your second objective. And the third is to be able to switch between the full G major chord and the full E minor chord. This week, E minor, you were able to play that really well. You eventually were able to arch your fingers all the way up so that even the third string was sounding. And that sounded really good. Something that's still going to be hard, and it's going to be hard for a bit because it takes a lot of muscle memory, is getting to G major. And the key to G major is to arch your fingers enough so that you're not accidentally muting strings you don't want to play. Because if you do that, this is what it'll sound like. And that's not nearly as full as... So just really work on arching your fingers, pressing only the correct frets down on those two things. And if you can master those 3 objectives by next week, we will be able to blow this thing out of the water. I look forward to seeing you next week.